At 1,000 feet underwater, the ocean does not gently push against a submarine. It exerts over 400 pounds of force on every single square inch of steel. At this depth, air doesn't leak in. Water crushes in at over 200 miles per hour. A single structural failure doesn't cause a slow flood. It triggers a catastrophic implosion in under 40 milliseconds, faster than the human brain can process pain.
On paper, surviving extreme pressure seems simple. Just make the steel thicker.
But in fluid dynamics, every extra ton of steel creates a deadly chain reaction of weight, buoyancy, and geometry flaws. So why do engineered hulls still fail? And why is the safest shape underwater almost impossible to turn into a warship? Let's dissect the physics. To survive extreme hydrostatic load, geometry is your only defense. Under stress distribution laws, a perfect sphere distributes ocean forces completely evenly. While a sphere is structural perfection, it's a military disaster. It creates massive dead space and can't house long propulsion shafts or torpedo tubes. Even worse, a sphere creates massive hydrodynamic drag, limiting underwater speed to a crawling pace. To fix drag and internal layout, naval architects stretched the sphere into a cylindrical hull. This solved speed, but introduced a fatal physics trade-off: hoop stress. In a cylinder, circumferential stress pushing inward is twice as high as stress along its length. Without support, a long cylinder doesn't compress evenly. It buckles inward along its weakest central axis. Engineers solved this by welding massive internal T-section ring stiffeners inside the hull. This prevented total buckling, but forced the steel skin between the rings to absorb extreme localized bending loads. Instead of eliminating structural stress, stiffener rings concentrated thousands of tons of force directly onto microscopic weld joints. Fixing shape solved depth, but created a hidden structural ticking time bomb inside the welds. And unlike static pressure, the real killer wasn't how deep the submarine dived. It was how many times it returned to the surface. Every dive compresses a steel hull inward by several millimeters. Every surfacing allows it to expand back out. This constant expansion and contraction causes metal fatigue, slowly altering the crystalline structure of the steel. Deep within the weld seams, microscopic fractures begin to grow, imperceptible to standard visual inspection. Navies must use high-frequency ultrasonic scanning to detect microscopic air pockets inside welds before diving. If a pressure hull is out of round by even a fraction of 1%, hydrostatic force concentrates on that flat spot. Instead of pure compression, the hull experiences destructive bending moments that multiply stress exponentially. In 1963, a silver-brazed pipe joint failed on the USS Thresher, flooding the engine room and cutting main power. When the crew attempted an emergency ballast blow, expanding high-pressure air froze moisture in the pipes, blocking the valves. Unable to shed weight, the submarine sank past test depth, until hydrostatic load exceeded the ultimate yield strength. As the hull imploded, air inside compressed so rapidly that temperatures spiked to thousands of degrees in milliseconds. The disaster proved that pressure hull safety isn't just about steel strength, it's about total system reliability under load. To dive deeper without adding fatal weight, metallurgists abandoned traditional steel entirely. But their new supermaterials brought an even stranger failure mode. To go deeper, you need high strength-to-weight ratios. Enter titanium grade 5 and advanced carbon composites. The Soviet Union built the Alpha class using a pure titanium pressure hull, allowing it to dive deeper and travel faster than any US sub. But titanium cannot be welded in open air. Exposure to oxygen during welding turns the metal brittle and useless. Entire specialized sealed shipyards filled with argon gas were required, making titanium submarines astronomically expensive. In recent years, engineers attempted using carbon fiber, a material extraordinarily strong in tension, but anisotropic. While carbon fiber handles outward tension easily, deep ocean compression forces individual composite layers to shear apart. Unlike ductile steel, which bends before breaking, composite materials suffer progressive internal delamination without external warnings. That is why military navies still rely primarily on high-yield steel alloys, like HY100 and HY130. High-yield steel deforms elastically under load, returning to its exact original shape upon surfacing, without hidden structural decay. Modern nuclear submarines integrate fiber optic strain sensor arrays embedded directly along the pressure hull. But as submarines push into deeper waters, relying on material strength alone is no longer enough. These sensors measure micro-deflections in real time, alerting command crews the instant localized stress spikes. If depth limits are breached, automated emergency ballast systems purge water from tanks in seconds. Acoustic monitoring systems listen for the distinct acoustic signature of metal fatigue, predicting failure points before cracks open. Forcing thousands of tons of displacement in seconds to rocket the vessel back towards safety. Mastering deep-sea physics isn't about building an uncrushable ship. It's about managing extreme physical trade-offs. Naval architecture is a constant battle between geometry, material science, and ocean pressure. Stretching spheres into cylinders enabled speed, but concentrated crushing load onto hull welds. And while supermaterials promise extreme depth, high-yield steel remains the gold standard for structural survival. But surviving crushing pressure is useless if the enemy can hear your hull moving through the dark. In Episode 3, we dissect the acoustic physics of submarine stealth and sonar detection. To see how acoustic engineers make a 10,000-ton steel warship completely invisible to sonar, check out our Deep Sea Warfare series right here.